We have a tremendous lack of visibility into the data and the metrics that power the business, which in 2025 feels kind of shocking and surprising. It really does literally feel like we're flying blind. We treat them all the same. We pay commissions the same way. We go to market the same way. Our average deal size is like 6K ARR with a less than 2-month sales cycle and a win rate of nearly 35%. This was a months-long project for us to pull all the data and clean the data and, reconcile the data with finance.
So you are a change agent definitionally. Do you have a playbook? Do you have a series of best practices or templates that you use to bring along, group of people that are all over the world or at least all over the country and make sure that they're behind you?
Look, it's not lost on me that you've been here 35 years and you've built this thing.
35 years. I mean, that is insane.
So I understand this is your baby and change is hard, but I hope you know that I'm not trying to drive change for change's sake. His VP of sales said, "I'm grateful to you, Mark, because I think you've changed."
Hey everybody, it's Sam Jacobs. Welcome to Revenue Blind Spots, powered by Otter AI. Revenue Blind Spots is that show exploring the pivotal moments in the careers of top revenue leaders. Our focus is to dive deep into the blind spots that have shaped leadership strategy and growth at some of the top operators in B2B technology, uncovering lessons that we hope can help the next generation of revenue executives. Each episode features a candid conversation with an industry leader who shares the unexpected gaps in their thinking, the consequences they faced, and how they ultimately adapted and evolved. And today, I'm really happy to have on the show Mark Rosenthal. Mark is a good friend. He's also the CRO at Castle Systems, where he leads the nationwide sales organization focusing on driving sales growth and maximizing revenue across the company's family of brands. Before Castle, he was the CRO and COO at HQO, a workplace experience platform for commercial real estate. He oversaw a remarkable 180-fold increase in revenue over 4 years, transitioning the company from a startup to a mid-sized business with a global workforce. Earlier, he held leadership roles at Google. He also worked as director of programmatic advertising. He's began his career at CBS Radio, where he advanced to general sales manager. He's also served as VP of global sales at Ando Media, and he graduated from GW University. Most importantly, perhaps, he's also the co-chapter head of the Boston chapter of Pavilion and a loyal and founding member. Mark, welcome to Revenue Blind Spots.
Thank you, Sam. Great to be here. Thanks for
We're excited to have you. So I read a very impressive bio, but I kind of skipped over Castle Systems, the place where you are CRO. So before we dive into it, tell us a little bit about this organization. What does this company do? How old are they? Where are they in their growth journey? Just give us the context.
Yeah, for sure. So Castle started in 1972 by a guy outside of DC. So we're about 53, 54 years old, and we focus in the access control and physical security space. So we have a managed, a tech-enabled, now today tech-enabled, but previously a managed services business to help secure originally office buildings and now a broader set of asset classes, multifamily residential buildings and construction sites and lots of other spaces where you would have either a badge reader or a video surveillance camera system. We design, we install, we monitor, we maintain, we provide a bunch of data to our customers, all about how their space is being used and secured. So I've been here for about 18 months, and it's a great company.
How did you discover this job? I mean, you had an incredible run at HQO, which I mentioned in the bio, but how did you find Castle Systems? And, so the company's 57 years old, but is there some inflection point that was the reason for you joining, maybe a private equity sponsor or some holding period that needed top tier revenue leadership, and that's why you joined?
Yeah, so no new infusion of capital, but Castle was a partner of ours at HQO and has had then and has now a great reputation in the market for what we do, market leader in managed services security. And so we had a deep partnership, a deep integration at HQO. I'd had a great run there. Castle is about 4 times the size of what HQO was when I left. So for me personally, it was a bigger stage to play on. larger team, larger opportunity, and for Castle specifically, as we look at the acceleration and growth, the company is as old as we are. The company has almost doubled in size in just the last 6 or 7 years
Oh, wow.
since bringing in a new CEO, and I think continuing to drive that growth and change the trajectory of the business for the future provides our owners, which are we're privately held by two owner investors, provides them with lots of liquidity options down the road. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into it. This show's about blind spots. This show's about learning lessons through your leadership career. So when I frame it that way, a time in your career when you had a significant blind spot in your approach to revenue leadership, go-to-market strategy, or operational execution, what comes to mind?
I'm gonna talk about, maybe it's recency bias, but I'm gonna talk about Castle. Um, we
We like recency bias. We want it to be relevant and salient and fresh off the press.
well, it might be unbelievable in 2025 also, but we'll talk about it anyway. So I think for us at Castle, and for me specifically as a revenue leader, we have a tremendous lack of visibility into the data and the metrics that power the business, which in 2025 feels kind of shocking and surprising. And as a guy, you mentioned earlier that I'm a big Pavilion member. I've taken a lot of classes, including revenue architecture, with Jocko and the Winning by Design team. Like, to be able to execute on the revenue architecture framework, the bow tie, and so on is nearly impossible, given the current structure of our data and our business. And the reason is that we use a legacy CRM. The CRM is owned by our IT department and was built to be a little bit of everything for a little bit of everyone, and doesn't really then serve any particular stakeholder group in the organization with everything they need. So in 2025, we're operating the business mostly out of spreadsheets. And it makes it really challenging to get any consistency of data, to be able to look at dashboards with trend information and historicals and whatnot, and then to be able to action against that data. So it really does literally feel like we're flying blind
Oh
at
my God.
Constellation.
So how do you, wow. How do you manage that? What is the data that you do have? Are you able to forecast? Are you able to course correct? You must be aware at least of how you're tracking to your quarterly number, I would imagine. But
I
how do you manage in the context of that glaring blind spot?
Yeah, so I do have a good sense of where we're tracking the quarterly number at least. And one of the problems with our CRM system is that most of the modern tools don't integrate with our CRM. So we found a couple. One of them is Gong, and we've been using Gong for forecasting. So that's been super helpful. We rolled it out initially just for our regional VPs of sales, and now we've started to roll it down through the organization, even to the individual seller level. So everybody's doing their forecasting in Gong and then kind of rolling that up. So that's actually the place that we probably have the best visibility. But when it comes to historical data and looking at trends, I am totally reliant on my VP of RevOps to pull data, dump it into spreadsheets, and help me manipulate the data. I have to be really prescriptive, or we have to be really prescriptive with what we want to look at, and what problem we're trying to solve, or at least what hypothesis we're trying to prove or disprove, so that we can pull the right data and then make some decisions. But the other piece of that is that the confidence level that we have in the data is pretty low. So when it comes to making decisions, like, are we making the right decision based on true, right, accurate data, or at least even data that's directionally accurate? So it's hard.
Have you been able to make organizational shifts? Like, have you been able to And is it all purely hypothesis driven? What are some decisions that you have made in the context of what little information you do have that have helped move the business forward?
One of the decisions that we're in the midst of making now is related to a big reorganization of our sales team. So we were able to look at the different segments that we sell into: commercial real estate office buildings, multifamily residential buildings, tenant suites directly, our outside video business that sells into construction sites and scrap yards and so on, and really look at the specific economics of each of those businesses. And up until today, for 50 years or 50 years, minus whatever time period we've been selling to each of those segments, we treat them all the same. We pay commissions the same way. We go to market the same way. We have an outside sales team, so we're field sales. We pay the same commission structure for all of those dollars. And when we started to really get under the hood, and this was a huge effort between our RevOps team and our FP&A team, they partnered to help me pull this together. But we started to look under the hood at the economics of the business. What's the cost structure for each of those? What's the return? What's our LTV? What's our LTV to CAC? What's our contribution margin for each of those businesses? Then we went and saw that they were vastly different profiles, right? Then we took the next step and said, okay, now let's look at our sales metrics, and looked at things like our average sales cycle length and our average contract value and our average win rate. And it became just glaringly obvious that we need to segment the way that we go to market and treat these businesses differently, particularly our tenant business. So we've got a product that is pretty sticky, right? We install physical hardware into buildings. So our customer lifetime when we sell to a commercial office building is almost 20 years.
Oh my
And
God.
same with a multifamily apartment building. But when we sell to a tenant suite, because tenants are more transient, still really good relative to like a bunch of businesses out there, but it's 8.5 years. So it's like a little bit less than half. Our average deal size for those tenant buildings is about a third of what it is for our commercial real estate and multifamily businesses. Our sales cycle is less than half. So we have a 60-day sales cycle or less for those tenant buildings, and we have an almost 6-month sales cycle for the other two. So our win rate is 2x. So
Your win rate's 2x with the
with the tenant business, yeah. So as I'm looking at it, like our average deal size is like 6K ARR, right? With a less than 2-month sales cycle and a win rate of nearly 35%. And you compare that to the other businesses, and it just screams like inside sales team. It screams higher velocity sale, especially it's not high velocity like one call close,
Yeah.
kind of transactional, but higher velocity. And so that's the shift that we're making in the organization now after looking at a ton of data. But we have competitors who are able to look at that data in like 5 minutes in a dashboard and be able to react to the market really quickly. I mean, this was a months-long project for us to pull all the data and clean the data and reconcile the data with finance and our various systems and make sure it was accurate. And because we're going to make a decision that is a fundamental change to the way we've been doing things for 54 years, like we got to be close to right.
So are you pushing aggressively within the organization to adopt, maybe switch off of Dynamics to Salesforce, use modern tools like Otter AI or others like that? But are you trying to modernize the tech stack as a mechanism? And I guess relatedly, how tough is the competitive set? Is it that every deal there's 2 or 3 other folks, or is it they're out there, you're aware of them, but maybe it's a stalking horse to help motivate the organization?
No, we're definitely in competitive deals in most cases. So there are, depending on the segment of the business, the competitive set changes and the number of competitors in any particular deal changes. But there's almost always a competitor in every deal. I'm trying to move the organization to a more modern tech stack. We're about to switch out our CPQ vendor, I think, which has been a huge pain for our sales team. And our sales team spends about 1 week of every month just in the CPQ tool. I
Wow.
mean, it's really like talk about wasted time, right? So, we're looking at everything from switching out the tool to standing up a proposal desk to repurposing some of our sales ops resources to a bunch of other things to solve for that pain point. And we're also looking at what other tools, whether it's Salesforce or Otter or anything else, can help us to go faster and create more efficiency in our team.
What's the lesson here, do you think, as it relates to like either what you would have done differently or advice you might give? Because I mean, obviously, like the lesson is don't use Microsoft Dynamics potentially, but you live in the world. It is a 60-year-old organization. They can't move on a dime probably. And so you have to compensate in certain areas of strength if you are aware that, data visibility and transparency and dashboards and analytics are maybe,
Yeah.
an area for improvement. So how do you think about it? How have you compensated? Where have you leaned in where you can deliver more quicker wins over the last
Yeah.
18 months to compensate for the lack of data?
Yeah, for sure. So we've really been leaning into training and trying to train our reps. If we don't have the data to make change, let's at least work with the reps to optimize. So I mentioned we bought Gong. So we use Gong for forecasting, of course, and for revenue intelligence, but we also use it for the core capability that Gong was built on, which is CI, conversational intelligence. So we record our calls, we track rep calls, we have scorecards built into Gong. We're looking at where the areas for optimization are within our sales force, and then we're trying to design better coaching and training to go and solve specifically those issues and bite them off one at a time and just get better at the things that we can control and that we know will help drive better results regardless of what data we have or don't have.
And you also mentioned that maybe you're moving from like field sales to inside sales. Is it an office-based work environment? Given that it's an older organization, maybe it's not fully remote. Like maybe some of these changes are um, easier because everybody's in the same place. Or are you also having to manage those logistics of taking people that were in the field, taking accounts away from them, creating an inside team,
Yeah.
developing a training program, et cetera?
Yeah, it's a big change management initiative. So we do have offices. We are in an office company. At least we have a 3-day week policy, and we're planning to shift to 4 actually in September. But our offices are all over the country. So we have offices. Our company's based outside of Washington D.C. We have offices in New York. I'm sitting today in our Chicago office. We have 3 offices in Texas. We have 3 offices in California, an office in Seattle. So yeah, and Atlanta, Florida. So we've got a whole bunch. And so there's no, with the exception of our headquarters, where we have certainly some critical mass, there's no real center of gravity for the sales organization. But we do like getting people in person. COVID changed everything for offices. This is the space I've been working in for the last 6 or 7 years. So we all know that the whole world went remote. It's been a struggle to get people back into offices. Everybody's got their opinions on it. Mine is that being co-located with your people has a ton of benefits, both professional and social, and so it's a good thing. But there are there are trade-offs. So for us, trying to drive that change management agenda with people who are in the office, even moving to an inside sales team, we would still want people to be co-located and try to learn together and grow together. And we're not going to shift the entire sales organization inside either. We still have some major segments of our business that are core that can support and should support a field sales team. And especially in this industry, which is a little bit old school, relationships do matter a lot in real estate.
How is has the go-to-market motion changed given sort of like what's happening in the real estate environment? The deeper question is, you mentioned that you believe that it's like better to be co-located, and you obviously believe that like some either in-office or hybrid environment. There's
They
certainly a
are
lot of conversation about people moving back to the office. Are you seeing that in the numbers and in the growth opportunity?
We do see it in the numbers actually, and we see it particularly in the numbers for like Class A and trophy buildings. So the places like Hudson Yards in New York and One Vanderbilt in New York, like these big trophy Class A beautiful new buildings. Number one, they command the highest rents, and number two, their occupancy levels now are like 95%. I mean, they have higher
Really?
occupancy, yeah, in those buildings, but when you go down market to like the Class B buildings, they can't get people to come in. So Castle actually publishes a report called the we call it the barometer now. We used to call it the back to work barometer coming out of COVID, which had all kinds of occupancy data, and we were tracking the return to office. And I think overall, if you look across the country, we're back pretty close to pre-COVID levels, 55 or 60% in office.
Really?
And then when you go into those when you go into like some of the southern markets or Sunbelt states, higher occupancy. When you go to those Class A buildings, like really high occupancy. So we do see people coming back. Also, more companies have mandated it. You saw Amazon, Amazon mandated it, Meta mandated it. So the big tech companies have done that. There are lots of companies that financial services have been on it for a long time. So the world seems to be moving back to that in-office culture, and I think employees, particularly if the market spirals downwards, will lose a lot of their leverage.
Last question for me on this topic. You just mentioned change management. Like, what is a framework for change management when you're trying to, because and this is me speculating, I doubt that they'll listen, but the IT department, I bet, is controlling their territory, and they push this dynamics transition. You're trying to push a different transition. You're also at the same time trying to push the development of an inside sales organization. Like, there's a lot, and of course that's what you were brought in to do. You are a change agent definitionally. Do you have a playbook? Do you have a series of like best practices or templates that you use to bring along a group of people that are all over the world, or at least all over the country, and make sure that they're behind you, supporting you, not with a knife?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but I didn't think about it for this conversation. So I'm going to make it up. I'm going to make it up as I go a little bit. But and this is another blind spot for me. I think I've never worked in an organization like this one where we have. I mean, I've got people on my team who have been here for 35 years. And so one of the things that I try to do is keep their perspective in mind. And I said this to one of my VPs of sales just the other day. Actually, he's been here for 35 years, and I said, look, I came from a company right before this one, HQO. I was there. I was employee number 14. $194,000 of ARR. We built the business, to about 250 people and 35 million by the time I left. And I said, that was my baby. Like, and as the company changed and as we brought in new people, it's like you're messing with my baby here, and I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable for me, and so I said that to one of my VPs of sales the other day. I said, look, it's not lost on me that you've been here 35 years and you've built this thing. Like, this is your
35
baby.
years. I mean, that is insane.
Right? So I said, that like I understand this is your baby and change is hard, but like I hope that I'm not trying to drive change for change's sake. I think that there are lots of opportunities to create better outcomes for you and for other people who are at the company here by optimizing. And let me kind of walk you through how. And so from a framework standpoint, I guess if I were to sort of put it into a couple of steps, so one is be really thoughtful about the change and have data to support the change that you want to make as best you can. Number two, socialize the change and do that both in group settings and, more importantly, one-on-one, and try to bring people along, because it's a sales job. Like, those are my sales, right? My sales are, can I get my 35-year veteran VP of sales to come along on this journey with me? Yeah. And then tell them what's in it for them and measure the outcome. So that's my very quick made up on the spot.
How did it go with this 35-year-old sales veteran person?
It's going much better now. I think when I came in, again, like not having been at a company like this before, I think I underestimated the importance of change management. And so I came in and I basically I looked at it from the outside and I said, "Oh my gosh, like here are 10 obvious things that we should do like immediately." It was like to me it was just the low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
And I started to say, "All right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this." And I started just dropping things across the team. And I got a lot of resistance. I got a lot of pushback because I didn't take the time to do those things. I didn't explain the why. I didn't talk about the benefits or the outcomes. I didn't bring people along and sell them on the vision. And so we actually just had our sales leadership offsite last week. And I closed the meeting by asking everybody to share one takeaway, one thing they're going to bring back to their teams, and one gratitude. And this sales leader, this VP of sales, said, I'm grateful to you, Mark, because I think you've changed." and I, and every, and every,
Oh my God, this
I said,
guy's a handful.
I said, "Gee, thanks," and everybody in the room laughed. And he said, "No," he said, and then he basically said what I just did, which is when I came in, I was very like, "We're going to do these things," and that he feels today that I'm much more engaging with the team and getting their feedback. I ask for their help. I ask for their opinions. I pull them into the process as opposed to just doing it on my own. And he preempted me because my gratitude was actually for him, because he has opened up so much since I've joined. Like when I first got here, it was exactly that. It was just resistance, and we talked about it a lot. And now he is a champion for change as long as he understands it. So it's been great. He's like, I figure if I can get him to come along, then I'm gonna lick this change management thing.
Amazing. Mark, before we go, we like to pay it forward. Books you've read, people that have inspired you, ideas that you think we should know about, podcasts you've listened to. What's something that you think we should know about, or someone?
Yes. Okay. Shameless plug for Pavilion. We in the Boston chapter, we have recently started a book club, and so the book that we've been reading is Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke.
Annie Duke.
Yeah, Annie Duke. Great book. Great book. So I'm not done yet. So I hesitate to say it's like the thing. But the book that I always think about and always go back to is Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink and
Willink. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's a good one too.
Yeah, that is like one of my go-tos, and then my like sales leadership field guide is the Qualified Sales Leader, John McMahon.
Oh, that's a great one. Okay.
I love that.
Well,
I
I
mean,
love all
like
of those.
it's like a how-to guide for being a CRO. So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Mark, what's a good way for people to get in touch with you if they want to get in touch? Maybe they want to buy some security systems and some office facilities management.
Sure. Well, if you want to buy some security systems, you can email me at mark.rosenthal@castle.com. If you want to talk about Pavilion, or you want to talk about sales in general, you can email me at mark.a.rosenthal@gmail.com, or you can always call or text me 617-642-5657. How's that? Is that dangerous? Probably.
I mean, no, I love it. I feel like some people blurt out for like privacy reasons, but I hope that they keep it in because I firmly support transmission of your personal phone number on podcasts. Mark, thanks so much for being our guest on the show. Thanks to Otter AI for making this happen. And congrats. By the way, folks, if you're emailing Mark, it's Castle with a K. It's Kastle. And otherwise, hopefully I'll see you at the CRO Summit next week. Otherwise, I will see you in DC for GTM 2025.
Thanks, Sam.